Sangamang Sasangang Ime Sadari Karupite Abhipujayama Sadhuno Bhante Bhagava Sujira Vayani Bhutopi Pajima Janata Nugamba Manasa Ime Sakare Dugata Banaka Rakute Patikanatu Amma Kandi Karata Ekaya Sukaya Arang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivadi Swadhato Bhagavata Namo Dhamman Vasani Supatipano Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami Vayam Buddhasa Bhagavato Bhagavaganamagarangaru Masi Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. So very good, very nice to see everyone again. So please now, everyone here, everyone online, settle down, compose yourselves, sit up nicely, good posture, body and mind alert. And cameras on, please. And you close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, you leave behind all that you've been doing, all that you've been thinking and worrying about. You put everything down and you leave it. And you try now to keep your attention so far as you can, at least during this evening, here and now. And we commence, as usual, by bringing to mind the Buddha, recollecting our great teacher and example, reminding ourselves of his perfect mind, a mind that was quite clear, free of all forms of corruption and defilement. And more than that, distant from any kind of greed, hatred, or delusion. His was a mind too of infinite compassion. A truly great and incredible being, perfect in knowledge and conduct. Now, when you contemplate the Buddha, when your eye happens to fall on a Buddha Rupa or a picture of the Buddha, or you just happen to think of the Buddha, be inspired to do your best, to do just as he did and cleanse your mind of all greed, hatred, and delusion. Cleanse your mind and free yourself utterly of all suffering. Now, remind yourselves that to care for your mind, to care for yourself, is to do yourselves a great kindness. And a mind of kindness is one that you should try to cultivate and keep with you as you walk this path. Kindness for yourself, kindness for others. This is a difficult path sometimes. We have to face our defilements. And that's not always easy. And we may see areas of our being that we're unhappy with or even ashamed of. So do remember to be kind to yourself and caring of yourself, caring of others too. And don't forget your good qualities, even that you have taken the trouble to sit here this evening. This is a great merit. And the Buddha said of merits, of good things, good karmas, that we should do them again and again, rejoice in them and do them again and again. And likewise appreciate the good in others, their kindness, their attempts too to do the good things. And at the same time, of course, accept things and accept others. To not accept things is to have desire for better or aversion. Your mind is not stable, not still. And we want a still, careful, and clear mind. A mind of equanimity and acceptance. Now, before we go any further, let's just take a look at our human condition. It's come about because of birth. And since we were born, Time has been passing. We've been getting older. And this process just goes on and on. And there's no turning the clock back. Nothing we can do about it. At first we were quite pleased probably to grow up, but as time has passed now we're beginning to regret our aging, the disappearance of our fitness. But it can't be helped. And all the while, during our life, at any time we could catch something, become unwell, even break something. It's a vulnerable existence that we live. And then whatever happens, however long we're living, whatever the fitness regimes or not, we will die. In fact, from the moment we were born, we've been dying, en route for death. Now, when we contemplate that, I hope it brings some urgency into your practice, because time clearly is running out. We have this opportunity with this precious human birth to develop our minds, to let go of our defilements. So don't waste it, and let's get on with it. So now, quite deliberately, gather and concentrate your mind. Don't let it drift off in different directions, but keep it together, and first of all, pay attention to just what you're doing. And what are you doing? You're sitting. In slightly different ways, but you've assumed a sitting posture. And you're sitting quite still. And so still that you can't help but notice your breathing. That goes on and on by itself. Breathing in, breathing out. Now pay attention to just how and where you perceive the breath. And try now to keep your attention just there, just where you know, where you feel, where you perceive your in and out breath. And be mindful and aware and watch each incoming breath, each outgoing breath. Keep your mind there. Now remember, be still. Be still in body and in mind. But if your mind moves, and then perhaps your body, be aware of this. Be mindful. Pay attention. Bear attention. Just look. And let it go. And find the breath again. And again, try to simply follow each in-breath, each out-breath. But if your mind goes off again, as soon as you're aware of it, attend. So please keep sitting quite still and silently, just as you have been. Maintain a good posture. Maintain mindfulness and awareness. And then while I'm talking, when I'm talking, all you need to do is to listen. And if you do that well, then even if what you hear is of no use to you, you won't have been wasting your time. Because learning to listen and to be able to just listen is a real merit, a real advance in your practice. And listening to the Dharma is an important part of our practice. Yes, practicing meditation is very important. You might almost say the heart of your practice. But there are other aspects too which contribute to your development. And they all need to be looked after. So it is important to try to maintain your virtue, to try your best to keep the precepts, to remain within that safe area that keeping the precepts creates for you. And it's important to pay attention to certain qualities. We all of us have various kinds of tendencies. And for the most part, those tendencies are conditioned by greed, hatred, and delusion. And we can't help that. We are heavily conditioned beings. We've been conditioned by all that we've done, what we've seen and what we've heard, what we've been taught. So many influences have led us to be what we are now. And for the most part, I imagine we have allowed that to happen. Yes, some things we've made an effort with. Some things have taken our interest and we've wanted to develop them. It won't always have been the very skillful things that we've been inclined to increase, unfortunately. But still, there it is. These various influences have been there, have taken part in our upbringing, in our growth, and have made us what we are at this time. Conditioned beings, conditioned by all that we've seen, heard, touched, tasted, all that we've done, all that we've deliberately done, our karma. Today in Thailand, especially at Wat Pa Pong, a huge gathering has been there to honour Ajahn Chah. He passed away on January the 16th, 1992. And since then, every year, there's been a memorial occasion. Now, he was the product of a very simple background. At least that's what it all looks like. But he grew into something quite phenomenal. And then, almost at the height of his powers, he suddenly declined. His health broke. And within a very short time, he was unable to do anything for himself. And then for 10 years, the last 10 years of his life, he was cared for round the clock, unable to communicate at all. And he had been a great communicator. People came from far and wide to hear him. But then suddenly, for the last 10 years of his life, he couldn't communicate. And of course, we don't know quite what went on within him during that period. Some of us believe that that's when he was able to finish his task. And the evidence is there that he passed away an arahant. At least, so far as we know, that is what happened. When he was falling ill, and he knew things were going wrong, he told people around him not to worry, not to bother, not to do anything. This was the fruit of previous karma. We are affected by what we've done, by our deliberate actions, by our choices. There's no question about it. And we can certainly see it within our present lifetime. We can see, we know what we've done. We know the tendencies we have nurtured, the directions that we've taken, the things we've wanted, the things we've pursued. What we don't know, what we can't tell is what went on before, in a previous life, or indeed several previous lives. And of course there are those who doubt this whole business of rebirth. And if you're one of them, well, at least look at the life you've been living and see how that has changed you as you've grown. Because that's what's happened for all of us. And we've been unquestionably affected by our actions and our choices. And it is important to look at this. I know some people will say, well, never mind all this stuff about previous karma. It's what you do now that you need to pay attention to. And of course they're right. But we learn from the past. And it's therefore necessary and helpful for us to view the past. When we investigate the past, when we look at ourselves, our understanding of how we develop grows. And that makes us more careful about the choices we're making now, the direction that we are pursuing now. And we may, when we look at how we're performing in this present time, recognize that it isn't quite good enough. That we're still doing things which are not a benefit to us or to anyone else, are not particularly skillful or helpful. And we should recognize that the consequences of unskillful behavior could be pretty unfortunate. And so we would be well advised to be more careful. Because what we say, what we do, depending on our intention, will affect us. There will be consequences. Of course, you will say, well, yes, sometimes it's quite clear. I do something and almost immediately there's a reaction. Something happens. And I can see there the connection between my action and what's happened to me. But I can also see that I do things, and I can see it in others. They do extraordinary things, and they seem to get away with it. Nothing happens to them. And that's because the effects of some karmas take some time to mature. And meanwhile, of course, we're still affected by previous karma, which may, to some degree, mitigate the effect of what we've just recently done. Over the Christmas and New Year, I had some bug, probably flu. But I'd had the flu jab. And so what I experienced really wasn't too bad. Bit of a nuisance, but not as bad as it might have been. And in a similar way, what we might have done previously can reduce the effect of something else that we've done. It is important to know about Kamma and the fruit of Kamma, and to understand, as the Buddha taught, that the cetana, the intentional volition, the choice behind our action, is what conditions the effect. The better we understand Kamma and its fruit, the more careful we will be, more careful to emphasize in our lives what is skillful, what is beneficial. Above all, what does no harm. This is a terribly important principle, an extraordinary one. I know we're often, many of us I suppose, have been encouraged to do good, at least sometimes. But what about just making sure you do no harm? Some people will say, well, that's a bit negative, but really, is it? I mean, we do tend to do quite a lot of harm, perhaps mostly in small ways. But we can't help our greed, we can't help our anger, we can't help our desire for things, we can't help our irritation. We can't help sometimes speaking a bit abruptly or nastily or angrily. Just think about it, how many times in a day, it may be in quite small ways, there's been some harm done. And how much better it would have been to have not done anything harmful. Harmlessness, doing no harm, is the principle which underpins Buddhist morality. And our actions, at the very least, we should endeavour to make sure are harmless ones. The effect will be far greater than you might imagine. An effect not only on other people, but upon yourself. Because unquestionably, our health and well-being is connected to our mind and attitude. I don't know whether Ajahn Chah knew what was behind the misfortune that eventually befell him. And I don't really know what he did during those years when he was helpless. But I suspect, I tend to believe, that he made use of what might be called a misfortune. And that really is how we should view things. Life is not an easy business. It's not perfect for any of us. And we will unquestionably have our hardships and our losses, and sometimes for some people they will be enormous losses. But the wise and sensible thing is to rise to the challenge and learn, at least learn from what has happened and what is happening. And understand that all that we have in life is impermanent, never going to be with us all the time. And here we are, all of us growing older. None of this can be helped or stopped. Some of it we won't like at all, but there it is. Better to learn from it. Better to make use of it. Better to see it as opportunities for growth and understanding. I suspect, that was Ajahn Chah's attitude when he was incapacitated as he was. Even though he couldn't speak or communicate, the teacher was still there. And his presence was felt for those 10 years. And since, his presence still is felt. And his example is still with us. So, I've gone on a bit tonight. That's enough for now. We'll sit for a moment or two longer. And please, as usual, in these closing moments, bring to mind metta, loving kindness. May you and all beings be well and happy. May you and all beings be free from all suffering. May you and all beings realize for yourselves the secure peace of Nibbana. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. So thank you all very much for coming. Very good to see you all. Remember, if you're around on Sunday, we will be celebrating here and remembering Ajahn Chah. Be good to see you if you can come. So, have a good weekend. Good night.